Today on Locked On Canadiens, should the Habs let the Leafs get even a sniff at Jake Allen?
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to episode 985. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That is $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. My name is Laura Saab, also known as The Active Stick, and I'm joined as always by the wonderful Scott Metla of Habs Eyes on the Prize. Scott, how are you doing on this fine, we are back to work, but we still aren't alive yet edition of our podcast?
I'm doing all right. And the thing is, I'm in Buffalo, and despite not getting a white Christmas, well, we got one last year, but I wasn't here for it. It finally has decided to snow on my return trip home from work today. So it's cold, it is snowy, it is wet, it is slushy. But the good news is I am happy inside. The PWHL is on the TV behind me. Bless the YouTube app and everyone else tuning in to watch right now. But things are good. There's a nice cozy blanket in the dryer warming up for me to throw on after we're done recording. Things are good despite the snow right now.
I honestly, things are good. And one thing that is really good is, Scott, you gave me some news today that made me stop what I was doing and laugh out loud. So apparently, the Leafs, in need of a goalie, are like, here's a bag of crap. Does anyone want to give me a goalie for it? And they just threw it into that GM group chat or whatever.
And so the assumption is, and this came from a site that sourced Elliot Friedman and Luke Fox from Sportsnet. All the teams have declined on that, and Luke Fox speculates that the goalies on the teams that Brad Treliving, general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs, offered a 6th round pick for. That is it. A 6th round pick were Dan Vladar of the Calgary Flames, Jake Allen of the Montreal Canadiens, Anton Forsberg of the Ottawa Senators, and Eric Comrie of the Buffalo Sabres. So one, they tried to trade for several goalies within their own division, which usually not a thing teams are keen on doing. Three of their biggest rivals, arguably. You have Buffalo for the cross-border rivalry, Battle of Ontario, and then the original 6. And every GM flat out refused.
And my thought is, like, a 6th? Is that it? That's it?
A 6th, from what I can understand from what was in this article, is that they were offering a 6th round pick, I assume, as the main part of this deal, to which I say a 6th round pick it's nothing. The right. Canadiens are not going to give up one of their big leverageable trade assets in Jake Allen for a 6th round pick. Toronto is not the only team desperately seeking a goalie. The Sabres, ironically, need one. Ottawa could use one. The Leafs could use one. The Oilers could use one, etc., etc., etc. There's a market for goaltending, and going in, and I know that you usually start with something low when you build up, or if you're a GM asking for something, you start high and you kind of work your way down in there. 4 things. A 6th round pick feels almost insulting. Like, why am I bothering with this at all? This is the timing you are giving me for this? Are we serious? Like, what are we doing here?
Well, that's it, because we are getting closer and closer to the trade deadline at this point. Things are supposed to start heating up. Like, you're not heating up with this. Like, what you are doing is you are throwing sand onto the flames. And I don't think, like, not the literal Calgary Flames. Like, anyway, do they have a goalie? But all of this to say, like, I admire the audacity of being like, here's like a low ball. Does anyone want to take it? Maybe. No worries if not. And that's kind of like the approach that I'm seeing here. I just think that if you are the Toronto Maple Leafs, you are starting at this point. You're like, your window is like in sight. Like the window closing is in sight. Like you have wasted the prime of your young star players. They are still in their prime, but they're getting closer and closer to aging. Like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, they're always going to be great players. William Nylander is not going to be on the Leafs all that long. So for me, I just think that if you have this time crunch on you, pick a goalie you think fits within your team, pick somebody you can rely on or you think you can rely on for a playoff run, and just target that guy with a return that moves the needle. Like this is just like, to me, like this is like, and it's coming from Elliot Friedman and Luke Fox, right? Like this is not like somebody just like making it up on a site or something like that, or like those old days of trade rumors. This is like source material. I'm just like, what's the thought process behind this? Do you not want to squeeze out every drop of possibility out of this core?
And I'm looking at Toronto's on cap friendly right now. They have currently no cap space. They're using LTIR for everything right now. Their current cap space is $341,000. Their roster size is 23 out of 20 players, 47 of 50 contracts. They have a first round pick in 2024 this year and 2026. They do not have their 2025 first. They have no second round picks for the next 3 years. They do not have a third round pick this year or a fourth round pick next year. And they have all their other picks for the rest of that there.
Oh, so
I
it's
don't
not
think
like
that
they're offering a low ball. It's all they've got.
but the thing is, starting at a sixth is like, okay, you're doing the bare minimum here. It's not like they said, oh, here's a prospect and a sixth kind of thing where I might be like, okay,
Or
maybe I entertain this.
a third. You know what I mean? A third. Open it with a third.
And the thing is, it's like, I would prefer picks in this year's draft, to be quite honest with you, but I'm not saying no. I don't think the Habs are in a spot where if they get offered a third and like an AHL player or one of those fringe players, they can say no for Jake Allen, because I'm not sure of where his total value is at. He hasn't been great this year, but he hasn't been horrid awful. He'd be the best goaltender on the Leafs this year, short of Joseph Woll, who got hurt, unfortunately. But it's offering a sixth is just like, you're not trying. And this is, you've recalled a guy who was playing in the ECHL to start the year to be your backup goaltender to Martin Jones. This is where you are at. Martin Jones, in the year of our Lord 2024, is the starting goaltender of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ilya Samsonov was so bad they sent him to the AHL. And yes, Joseph Woll probably would be their presumed starter, but he's out long term. You were in a window where Nylander's contract is going to be expensive. John Tavares is aging. Still a good player, but is aging down. Your defensive core still isn't very good, and your depth hasn't been where it needs to be. They can score goals, but they can't stop anything from going in. If you can't pull the trigger on actually doing that, you're not serious about contending with this team. And I'm looking at, their goaltending relief here. Matt Murray, was a long-term injured reserve. He's out there somewhere. Ilya Samsonov's in the AHL. They have Dennis Hildeby and Martin Jones up right now. And then I don't think they have another couple of goalies that are down in the AHL and ECHL. And it's just not good enough. If you're actually serious, you need to come back with something better than, here, can I start with a sixth? I hope Kent Hughes laughed and hung up the phone or just left it on red. I get it. You have to start somewhere, but that's almost insultingly low. That'd be like me going, I want to trade Josh Anderson for William Neat. Well, actually, it's Brad Treliving. So who knows? But anyways, my point being, you can't start with something so out there that a GM's going to look at this like, this isn't actually a serious deal here.
Right.
And for all I know,
deeply unserious was the response from Kent Hughes. This is deeply unserious.
However you say deeply unserious in French, he sent both of them to Brad Treliving to get the point across on this. I'm interested to see if that's where this path goes, because Toronto stands to lose the most without a goal. Maybe Edmonton, but those are the two teams that stand to lose the most without a quality goaltender this year. Teams with superstar first overall picks, generational potential talents, high-end talent that can't get a save. So we'll see. I mean, Martin Jones got a shutout against the Kings last night, so who the heck knows? But I can't believe that a sixth was what they offered 3 divisional rivals and another Canadian team that the GM just left.
You're right.
A 6th round pick. come
for
on. Like,
like, and
what are
this
we
is
at?
the
What are we
thing.
doing here?
Exactly. Like it is, like I said, it's like, and the closer you get to the trade deadline, the more the market is set by what the other GMs want. It's not necessarily by what the player's true value is. Like you were pointing out, you don't know where Jake Allen's true value lies right now. But really, it's this is shaped like the price that you actually pay is shaped by all the other GMs in the NHL. In the meantime, we're going to move a little bit away from the NHL because the PWHL started and Montreal, do we have a contender on our hands? And that's coming up in just one moment here on Locked On Canadiens. But first, this episode is brought to you by Sleeper. It is almost the halfway point in the season, and the Montreal Canadiens are kind of regardless of where we are in the current standings, though, I do want to remind you that you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. Honestly, there's so much to love about the app. You can connect with other fans and you can also play daily fantasy NFL, NBA, MLB, CFB, whatever it is you want, CFB college football, whatever it is you want, it is available on Sleeper. And all you have to do is take a player and pick whether they will record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in a given game. And to get 100 times your bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8-player stats. You heard me, Canadiens fans. You can win 100 times your money by playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Team terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. All right, Scott. So we are recording this shortly after the Montreal team made their PWHL debut. So I think for me, the first thing is like obviously they beat Ottawa, which is in overtime 3-2, which is nice, starting up that rivalry as early as possible. One thing that struck me, and this is something where, obviously it is intentional, it is going well, it's something that I'm very positive about, is the quality of the game that you can watch, right? Like it used to feel like you were watching it from somebody's iPhone in the arena, right? It felt like a TikTok. And now the quality is there, the graphics are there. You feel closer to the game, you feel more like you're in that actual game, living those moments. And I think that coverage is going to be really, really important. That was the first thing that struck me, obviously. The other thing that struck me was just how entertaining it was. Like it's always been something where, we don't need to convince people. All they need to do is just watch one game. This game had a lot in it. Like there were so many things going on. There were so many storylines on and off the ice as well. But it looks like Montreal, well, obviously, if you have Marie-Philippe Poulin on your team, you kind of have a cheat code, don't you? But it feels like Montreal is a team that is has promise. It's got momentum, and I feel like we're going to be really lucky, and we're going to watch some great hockey for the next few weeks, next few months.
And here's the thing about it is that a lot of complaints that, the loud minority of people have had is that, oh, there's no hitting and there's no physicality and there's this. They tweaked the rules that you can hit if it is separating a player from the puck. The games were intensely physical compared to what previous women's hockey league iterations were. And before I delve in any further, this is to say that this league doesn't get to where it's at right now without the groundwork laid by the previous CWHL, the NWHL/PHF, the PWHLPA, doing the barnstorming tour and everything there. All of that laid the groundwork for this to get all of the best women's hockey players in one area and one arena there. It's been a lot of sacrifice. It's been a lot of heartbreak with leagues going out of business. And every game I've watched so far has been intensely entertaining. They've been competitive. You've got great goaltending. You've got physicality. You've got great goals being scored. And you have drama in them. Like you said, the PWHL Montreal versus Ottawa game, Ottawa opens the scoring, then the Canadians. I'm so sorry. That is the CWHL part of my brain still there. You have the Montreal team coming back, tying it. Ottawa going up. Montreal scoring late, scoring in overtime, and then you have just all the things that are with it. And I had the Boston and Minnesota game on in the background here, and I'm watching the first overall pick from the draft score the first goal for Minnesota against Hillary Knight's Boston team. 16,000 people are watching on YouTube. They're available on if you have MSG or if you have NESN or if you have Bailey Sports in, I believe, Minnesota and other areas. It's readily accessible and they're always on YouTube. So if you're not in those regions, you can watch it on YouTube. It is so much more accessible. It has so many names. I can't wait to kind of see how this keeps going here. The Montreal Ottawa game set an all-time women's hockey attendance record for league games, I believe. I'm not 100% sure how it compares to international, and I think that's its own
Not even
category.
close, no.
But
International brings out all the crazies.
Yeah, and 8,300 people packed into TD Garden in Ottawa to watch Montreal and Ottawa play there. And it was a great game and a great treat. And all you hear from the players and the fans and the people working here is that finally we get to, and they get to, I shouldn't say we, because I am, a straight white dude. I can do whatever I want. They are getting a chance to live their dream as they saw it. And that's really important. And I'd love to see, I'm seeing the support from NHL players, and I've seen the Bruins and seen the Red Sox. Patrice Bergeron dropped the game puck in Lowell, Mass for the game tonight. Cole Caulfield has been talking about it and how important this is. The support is there behind that. And I want to see that keep going. This is such a huge opportunity. And if you haven't watched yet, Wednesdays, Saturdays, Sundays, their games, put it up on YouTube and watch it. You're not going to be disappointed. It's the next step forward in women's hockey. And you see all these young stars who are making their way up. Women's under 18s are coming up there. There's going to be so much going on. And just seeing my timeline constantly talking about it is so, so nice. Like the Habs game was on last night, and most of the Slack chat for Eyes on the Prize was talking about the Ottawa-Montreal game because that, mattered more at this point.
Right.
I know that there's going to be detractors. There always are, but I'm telling you, if you're not even going to give it a shot, I don't want to hear from you. If you're not even going to give it the opportunity.
Because that's the thing. It's high quality hockey. It's fun. It's entertaining. And the word that I forgot when I was first talking was broadcast quality. The quality of the broadcast is so much better this time around. But this is the thing. It's for if you like sports, if you like hockey, this is something for you. It's definitely something that has the drama, it has the excitement, and you don't even have to go out of your way anymore. Like you would have to jump through so many hoops just to see a game if you wanted to, and if you had the ability, if it was televised, if it was streamed anywhere, blah blah blah. Now there's no excuse because it's so widely available, and it's just the game was so good. It was so fun, and obviously it helps that Montreal beat Ottawa.
That's the thing. I can't wait for Montreal's first home game at the Verdun Auditorium there. I know the support's going to be there. I can't wait to see who from the Canadiens organization is there to support that. I imagine that you'll probably see Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield there. Mike Matheson will probably be there, given, that Emily Matheson was a fantastic hockey player in her own right. It's all about support. We're not asking you to go out and buy jerseys and attend every game, but watch, talk about it. Hockey is still hockey, regardless of who is playing it. And this goes for all levels, but especially something that is starting here. There's a great ground support here, and it takes a lot of people. Now we can lift this up here. I'm not saying it's going to hit being the NHL, whatever, but if you can, support this in a way that keeps it going and allows this to grow, more teams, more players, everything with that, that's the key point there. I can't wait to see. I'm excited. I'm already waiting for the next PWHL Montreal game, which I believe is this weekend, because I want to watch more. And to be quite honest, the Montreal jerseys are the best in the league, and I don't make the rules, so you're going to have to deal with that. I can't wait to buy one of those as well. I don't need to buy one, but I'm going to because they are absolutely incredible.
I will support that. And I do really quickly want to just touch on one thing. I feel like this is something where if you are talented at playing hockey, if you have the skill, and obviously if you're lucky, if your parents can afford it, you should be able to, regardless of what gender you are, you should be able to envision a future in which your job can be hockey player. And this is the closest thing that we've had in North America now. Like, we've had professional hockey before, but all of those players would need other jobs to supplement it, and all of that. Like, this is the step that they're taking now to make sure that, 10 years from now, whatever it is, like your job, you can be self-sufficient at being a hockey player. And that's all I'm going to say on that. In the meantime, we do have to turn our attention back to the Habs and the Sabers. Last time around, it wasn't as awful as we expected it to be. In fact, it was quite a fun game. So maybe we'll get more of that tomorrow, or tonight at the time that you're listening to this. So in just one moment, we are going to do a Canadiens Sabers game preview. But first, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That is $150 in bonus bets whether you win or you lose. And don't forget, it's not just the NFL, right? Like, we are in the thick of it with the NHL season, the NBA season. Like, it's literally anything. You can find it on FanDuel. There's so much stuff on there, and it's so easy to use. It's so easy to place bets. And there's so many different ways to bet, like live same game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab if you like on the app. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find popular ones, and more. So visit fanduel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. And us. All right, let's get back to, less uplifting things and talk about the Buffalo Sabres. I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like, they're not good this year. If you look at the Locked On NHL, power rankings, they're not good. Them and the Senators, LOL, are behind the Habs in the power rankings and in the standings.
In like real life too.
Yeah, they're 3 points behind the Habs, and they've played one more game with a -21 goal differential. And the thing is here, I want to take a look at something because I think I can figure out where the issue is becoming. One, Tage Thompson has missed some time this year. He has 21 points in 28 games. He is set to be back in the lineup, I believe, after the birth of his, I believe, first child with his wife or girlfriend. But I'm looking at the issue here, and they can't get a save. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen has played 18 games. He's 7-8-2, 3.13 goals against, 892 save percentage. Devin Levi, who is hoped to be the guy who's going to take that step forward, 17 games, 7-6-2, 3.36 goals against, 888 save percentage. Not ideal. And
Which
the
is
team's
not
top.
to say he's not legit.
No, it's just the Sabres defense has not been good this year. We've seen it from friend of the show, Joe Yurden, a lot, and other Sabres fans, that when they brain fart in their own zone, it goes in the back of the net. And I go, wow, doesn't that feel familiar in a lot of different ways? Teams led in scoring by Casey Middlestat, 10 goals, 21 assists in 38 games. Rasmus Dahlin, 10 goals, 19 assists, but a -24 on the season. And before everyone jumps down my throat, no, plus minus is not the end all be all. If it was, we'd be looking at a lot of different things, but it is the worst on the team by 5 goals, with Tage Thompson being next. And he's the guy playing the most minutes. It's a Sabres team that it can still score goals when they want to. They just can't keep them out of their net. And the Habs have won 2 games against the Sabres this year, which is 2 more than they usually win in any given year, which means they're going to play the dumbest, stupidest, most craptacular game tomorrow night. Do I mean the Sabres or the Habs? The answer is yes. No matter what, it's going to be one of those games that it should be close, but it's not. And that one team can run away with this, and that it's a Sabres team that's frustrated. And I am begging the Canadiens, If you go up by multiple goals and you are pressuring the Buffalo Sabres and you are producing things that way, please continue to do that. I'm begging you, because every time you sit on a lead, you cough the lead up and then you lose. And then I get mad. And then we do this podcast where I'm upset. And I don't want to do that tomorrow. And for
Don't
what I
make Scott
assume,
do an upset podcast. Habs, not Habs fans, Habs. Don't make Scott do an upset podcast. Let's do a happy one.
yeah, I was going to say, and I can assume probably because it's in Montreal, Devin Levi will probably start, and he's probably going to make 65 saves, including one where he robs Nick Suzuki with like his butt when he's facing the wrong way, 3 area codes over, because that's how this always goes when the Habs play the Sabres. My expectations are none. I'm hoping they win, but you and I know how the Sabres games go. Habs take penalties. Habs give up power play goals. Habs dominate even strength, go on penalty kill, give up goal,
Die.
lose like 6-3. Like that's how this goes.
That is how this usually goes. And real quick, at this point that we're recording this, we still don't have any call-up news, do we, Scott?
No, we do not. We do not know what Josh Anderson's status is. He won the Molson Cup for December and then promptly might have wrecked his knee in the first game of the new year, which is just some just devilishly cursed nonsense. But
I think we knew he was cursed at the beginning of the season, and like it seemed like, maybe he's not. So nope, the curse is just toying with him at this point.
yeah, because the Rocket don't play until Friday. So I imagine they might make a 5 p.m. call up, but because before they go on the road, I assume the Rocket will leave at some point tomorrow night potentially, and they'll leave, or tomorrow afternoon they'll leave whoever's going to be left behind and travel to Utica tomorrow through the snow and everything else on the bus. But I'm expecting Emil Heineman out of everything else here. I'm ready to be pleasantly surprised by whatever they do. Or my hope is that maybe the injury to Anderson isn't as serious and we can avoid this, but I don't think we'll find out what that is until after 5 p.m. tomorrow, just before the game time. But
Yep. Right after the deadline to submit to Central Registry.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is a game that the Habs can kind of keep their run of good form going here, as they played well against Tampa, didn't get a win, sort of played okay against Dallas, then played terribly against Dallas, got a win here. This should be the kind of game that, hey, take some of those things there against a team that you are better than right now and, find a win in this. I'm not predicting they're going to blow it out or anything, but this is the kind of game that the Canadiens should win at this point in the season here. The Sabres are struggling, and where they're struggling is where the Canadiens can thrive, because Slafkovsky, Caulfield, and Suzuki continue to be it. And I don't hesitate to say elite. They're one of the best 5-on-5 lines in the NHL this year.
I'm so excited for them.
Yeah, but other people aren't, because, Slaf's a bust or something like that. I don't know. It's all dumb and stupid, but
no, we will not listen to the haters today.
no, we never
We
do
will
anyways.
offer the haters Jake Allen and ask for more than just
a 6th round pick. I love that I didn't even tell you what team it was, and you just kind of went with assuming it was Leaf fans anyways. So
it is Leafs fans. All right, before we let everybody go, a reminder that tomorrow is our mailbag episode. So please send us your mailbag questions. You can leave them in the YouTube comments, or you can send them to us on Twitter. We are at LO_Canadiens. You can also please send them to us. Did I say the email part? LockedOnCanadiens@gmail.com. I've also reactivated my Threads account. I am at the active stick on pretty much any social media, so you're welcome to send mailbag questions that way. Scott is at Scott Matla on most social media. And before we do let you go, just want to remind you that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Thank you so much, everybody, and we will see you all tomorrow.